Good Friday afternoon, everybody. Coach Kurt here with the LFS-Kali fight team, broadcasting off the Fight House Talks podcast. I'm going to be running a man short today. Guro Brian is coming back from a VA appointment, so you may pop in a little bit later. So tonight, I am joined by some wonderful human beings doing some great work. We're talking about a charity function and their work in bringing Filipino martial arts and helping with cures for cancer. So tonight I am going to be joined with four guests. They'll come up each and say their bit, see what they're bringing um, to this charity and what this means to them. And we're going to keep it kind of loose and fun as we always do. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first guest here. This is Miss Renee Dieffenderfer. I'm butchering this, but here we are. Yeah, Miss Renee, let's pull you on mic. Here we go. How are you doing, Miss Renee?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you here. So, can you tell our audience who you are, what you bring to this, and the overall scope of this charity that you're doing?
I would love to. So, my name is Renee Dieffenderfer. I am the founder and president of Creations for Cures. Our mission is to bring the healing power of art to kids who are battling cancer and other serious illnesses. So, we do this through our art program. We have volunteers that create art projects every month, and then they build art kits that month. And then we go in and we do art with kids either in person, virtually through a recording, or virtually live, just depending on what the kiddos and families and hospitals need in their environment. So we're a team that stands at that intersection of art, science, and compassion.
That's awesome. And what's interesting in this, and I'll let the guys speak to this individually, but what was interesting is when people talk about charities and functions and cures for cancer, within the scope of places to help partner up, people often don't think about the FMA community, let alone even know what the FMA community is. So before this even started, did you know what FMA was and the scope of what Pekiti Tirsia had to offer, or any of these gentlemen?
No, I mean, I was familiar with it because one of our top volunteers, Allison, she's our creative
Mhm.
director. And so, from
Okay.
getting to know Allison as one of our volunteers and getting to meet her husband, Rich, and I learned a lot about what she's passionate about and what her family's passionate about. So I was introduced to it. But you're right, not it's not it, this is the first fundraiser of its kind like this for me. So.
Yeah. And just the dichotomy of having the martial arts, specifically the Filipino martial arts, involved in a fundraiser of this scope and magnitude it's interesting because a lot of people think within the scope of the Filipino martial arts, especially with like the combat military side of the Filipino martial arts, they just don't see this like how this would fit together. But and this is where we're giving the opportunity for people to actually see that we are much more than the blade, and it's really great to see like people sharing in that care and that love and trying to just be helpful. So I'm going to bring the guys up and yeah, let them say their bit and we'll just run with it. So first I'm going to bring up Royce, and here, there we go.
Hey everybody.
So Royce, you want to say, I mean, give it a little introduction to who you are for those who don't know who you are, and then I'll bring everybody up one by one. So
It's not a problem. Hello everyone. My name is Royce. I am a instructor and owner of Nomad College Combat Fitness in West Nyack, New York. I'm gonna be the host for this event of Creations for Cures in New York, and we're gonna have multiple instructors in the Pekiti Tirsia Kali community here on site, as well as hybrid hosting on Zoom. We also have a fellow associate who who's from a different area of Pekiti Tirsia out in Utah, who will also be hosting live in his location where he's at, which is Mandala Jason Jones. So this is literally the first of many kinds. Right? I've done a lot of fundraisers in the past, but nothing of this scope. And first time with Creation for Cures, and this is a number of us who are a part of different Pekiti Tirsia groups in the community, that all have met each other or have interacted with each other in some way, shape, or form, and we just want to pay it forward, help the children out, and just show that it's no politics, just help kids out. That's the biggest thing, you know. And Renee said something very interesting, and this is where I think martial arts is very much like that. It is the intersection of art meets science. But there is a lot of science in what we do, and there's a lot of art in what we do. So it's perfect for this.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to bring up Brother Angola. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
How's
Angola
it going?
Tafari here, coming out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Have an organization, Live Blade PTK. We've been here for 10 years. A proud ambassador of the Pekiti-Tirsia-Kali World Federation, as well as affiliation with the Pekiti-Tirsia Tactical Association, and just all-around love for all Pekiti camps that we have out there. And as Royce said, having different representatives from different organizations come together for this charity is really important. How this evolved, at least on my end, for a number of years now, everyone that's involved in this particular charity, we've been doing some charity and fundraising events beforehand. Mandala Richau has really been spearheading, getting us all together. And as you said, demonstrating that there's more than just the blade. There's more to this training than just the combat skills. Of course, for Pekiti Tirsia-Kali, we have a philosophy. We believe in life. We believe in health. We believe in success. And so, we salute in every day, in our classes with that, but how are we actually living by that? And so this charity is just an opportunity for us to, again, pay it forward, go beyond the skills. And ultimately, as martial artists, we should be thinking about our contribution to humanity. And so that's just a brief introduction right there. It's an honor to be here and meet everyone here. Coach Kurt and Renee, and of course, Royce. We've been doing this for a while. So great to see everybody.
That's beautiful. And last but not least, we have Brother Court here. And here we are. We're all here. Brother Court.
How are you guys?
Doing well, sir.
My name is Court Bolton. I'm out in Colorado. I have a Pekiti Tirsia school. We teach several different arts here, as well as do some contracting all over the country, working with different organizations, we'll say. And then when Mandala Rich brought this to me about the opportunity to do something of where we could all get together, we could help an organization like this, and just kind of put it out there that there's more to what we're doing than the organization that somebody's attached to, or names, friends, that sort of thing, but that we can come together as a large group and do something to benefit the greater population. I was all in.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you here and part of this collective group effort. And yeah, so like I said, I want to keep things really loose and fun and free, so we can just discuss what this means to us each. I'm very new to this, so I'm allowing you guys just tell me. But Miss Renee, so how long have you been in this particular field of work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I started Creations for Cures formally in about just over 7 years ago. And I did that based on my own experience. So I'm a cancer survivor, and that's what inspired me to want to create something that would help others in my situation. So we've been formally an organization for the last 7.5 years, but before that, I was testing and researching and wiggling my way into children's hospitals to learn more, to make sure that it was something that people wanted.
Awesome. So you guys are underneath a 501c3.
We are.
Awesome. That is great. Um, and especially now in the world where we need more help and support than ever, I'm very grateful that your organization's there. When you got introduced to the guys here, you mentioned you had it by way of another person, but have you actually trained in any martial art, let alone the Filipino martial arts?
No, never. This is going to be my first time. So I will be joining the fundraiser on September 9th. So I will be there virtually. I'm really, really excited. This is my first time. I have a close friend of mine. This has really opened up some great conversations. And for me, with the ability to get to know people in a different way, a really good friend of mine out here, I had no idea that he was very passionate about this particular style of martial arts. So my buddy Alexis will be joining us during the fundraiser, and I'm excited. So,
Awesome. And I can agree, or I mean, it just exuded out with everybody. Like passion
yeah,
speaks for a lot of problems. Because I mean, I say problems, but it's like it's problem solving. Because the big thing we talk about in the martial arts and also the military is like we got to work the problem, and we have a lot of passionate people out there that have a lot of this energy, want to do something, and not everybody actually knows how to do it or find the facilitator. And it's awesome that when two very passionate, very different camps can come together and work together in such a beautiful manner. So, can you speak to that a little bit, or let any of the guys jump in? I mean,
Yeah, this is all about bridging worlds and
yeah,
making connections and getting outside of our bubble, and as martial artists getting outside of our comfort zone, and this is evolved, and it's beautiful to work with this particular organization
mhm,
where some of the fundraisers raisers we've done before has been for like an individual. This is
mhm,
going to be supporting many. Just to clarify, in case people aren't not clear, there's three of us here today, but there's going to be three more at the
mhm.
event. So there's going to be six total instructors,
Okay.
and each of us for 1 hour is going to be teaching one specific subsystem of Pekiti Tirsia. And so the idea here is that, folks who've never trained before, like Renee, and who are just kind of coming out and want to do something new, this would be a good introduction to train in the system as well as get exposed to the various subsystems. For folks who've trained before, having this lineup of quality instructors kind of go back to back will be something new. And of course, we're going to make sure the material is fun and invigorating. So we're looking at like 6 hours of training. And so get hydrated, make sure you got you're warmed up, but it's going to be a great experience and it's going to be a great event. But again, it's about bridging worlds.
When I was researching PTK when I first got involved, or this became an idea. And I was inspired by how much we have in common and just learning more about the history and what goes into martial arts. And it's problem solving, it's creativity, it's discipline, and a lot. I mean, it's remarkable to think that we have so much in common. I do art with kids in hospitals. You all practice a beautiful form of martial arts, and we have a lot in common. And I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's that I've often talked about when it comes to like resiliency, is that there is a purpose behind all this pain that we survive through. And it's very interesting and beautiful that with such an art such as the Filipino martial arts or Pekiti Tirsia that comes from a very martial discipline, that there is beauty that comes along with it at the behest of like there's some straight up pain there, but there's purpose behind it, and that purpose is we find peace and find passion and compassion along with that. And it's just I'm very grateful that everybody's found a way to come together with this.
I think you said something key there, Coach Kurt. Pain, at least from my perspective, is necessary for growth, and discomfort in a lot of ways. And as much as we want to avoid it, without it, we really can't evolve. We'll never know what our limits are. And so the martial arts mindset, regardless of what discipline you are coming from. But that mindset, I guess that's what Renee's talking about, that she connects with, where you're persevering through challenges, finding meaning through the pain, and ultimately trying to find a better quality of life. I like to think that in its origin, these skills were trained, of course, to protect family, nation, tribe, but they were also designed to develop the character of the human beings involved. And so participating in this event, whether you're one of the instructors or just one of the practitioners, it's kind of like putting that deposit in that karma bank that in a weird way actually helps your skills evolve. If that makes any sense.
Well, it makes great sense. Brother Court there, what can you speak to this about?
I'm sorry, what was that question again, sir?
So, speaking to, I'll just say post traumatic growth, turning pain into passion and compassion, and utilizing such a beautiful and powerful martial arts and turning into a form of like service and sacrifice. I know you're a military veteran like I am, and our call to duty was a point of sacrifice and a point of service. And one could say it's a point of love in a lot of ways. And showing that compassion towards our fellow man, women, and everybody in general. I mean, your action in time of service, and in this case of time of service, speaks to that level of compassion. Do you have anything to add to that? I mean, I've buttered you up with that, but still.
You know, there's a one way to look at this, I think, for me anyway, is when you protect those that need protecting, that comes in many forms.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it can be physical, sometimes it can be emotional, mental. It can be just coming together and just being there for them, whatever. That can look like many different things for each individual. And this is one way that I think that we can come together and spent with all the hours and time that everybody has spent doing this, that we can kind of give back. We can do something for children. And if we as people can't do something for children, I'm not real sure what we're doing then.
That's beautiful. I appreciate that. I really do. Brother Royce, what you got there? Oh, I'm sorry.
Royce.
Good court. Yes, sir.
Well, one of the things that we should talk about is what each instructor is covering while we're in this seminar.
Yes, sir. I'm about to get into that.
Go right ahead.
Court, why don't you lead us off?
I'm going to be showing how to use a pistol using knife concepts in Pekiti Tirsia. So what that'll look like is covering what the concepts of single knife are in Pekiti Tirsia, some footwork, and then how we apply those to a pistol or empty hands or whatever. Just because they fall under a knife doesn't mean they stay there. They can travel to whatever method or weapon we want to use.
Nice.
Awesome.
And that's one thing that we've often talked about at least in the Pekiti circles, that whether it's the PTTA or whether it's the PTKWF or whatever group out there, that there's a direct correlation from pistol or firearm, to blade. And that's one of the reasons why I love PTK, because to me it's been it takes that one approach of one system, many weapon categories. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter what we pick up. Of course, there's gonna be some kind of adjustments, but we can adapt easily, because we know that I pick up a sword, I pick up a dagger, I pick up a pistol, I pick up an axe, a wasai, whatever. We know we can, even if it's not our specialty weapon or something we train religiously with, it is something we can at least fundamentally grasp right away. And that's what I really like about the art. And I think a lot of people will like that about this art, if they're either new or to the art, or if they're or they've done Filipino martial arts or martial arts in general, but just an opportunity for them to check it out. And we have so many categories in this. As Port said, he's going to do that. Pistol from knife, from knife concepts. We have Mandala Jason Jones. He's going to be doing application of Pito Pito, which is a subsystem in Pekiti Tirsia. Pito stands for 7, so it'll be a 7-7. And we're going to find out his you know, his perspectives and application on that. We have Aguilan Francis Estrada, and he's out of Brooklyn, and he's part of PTKWF. Jason's out of the PTTA, and Francis Estrada is going to be doing exploring regulatory habitat, which is a multi-striking concept or platform in PTK. So it's really going to be pretty impressive with the lineup that we have. And then we have recently promoted Mandala and Njoli Brown. Congratulations to him. And, you know, he's going to be going over Spade Daga material as well. So this is going to be really fantastic material. For those who don't know, Spade Daga is sword and dagger. Angola, please, your material.
I'm going to be the fundamentals of empty hand versus blade. And for folks who've never trained for something like that, it's about just exploring the concepts, getting folks familiar to what that looks like. For folks who have trained that before, we'll have some new material. It's about making it fun and putting some things on people's minds, because that takes years to train. All of this really takes years to train. So hopefully it'll inspire people to want to continue after. Hopefully people want to continue to doing good charity work after September 8th, and people want to continue training martial arts. That's the ultimate goal.
Absolutely. And what I'm going to be doing is going over the concept of and concept and application of deflection and simultaneous attack, also known as pa'awas, which means to overflow, and sabayan, simultaneous or at the same time. So you're going to learn deflection and simultaneous attack in the scope of functionality and application as well. So all this stuff is going to just kind of compress on itself. There's going to be a really nice buildup of material. And I'm telling you, if you want to try it, you could be a beginner. You'll pick up stuff, because we're all going to approach this from people who do not know PTK. So we're all going to help out everybody live on Zoom as well. So if you're interested, join us on Zoom, join us live. We still have a few spots left, so take advantage of it now. We have people flying up from Florida, from Pennsylvania, from Virginia. We got people coming in, but I only have enough space for 20 people. So don't wait. You know, hit that link. We'll share the link there for the fundraiser through Kali, and register, or at least donate a little bit, goes a long way if we all take part. Make sense? Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Here's that Facebook event link for the fundraiser there. Everybody can register. I'll also throw all the details down in the comments and everything else. So we'll have that available. Also, so Miss Renee, um, hearing all this, so the skills and adaptability and resiliency that comes about from surviving uh, cancer and surviving just life in general. What is interesting about what the Filipino martial arts, what PTK also talks about, is the adaptability, the creativity, the opportunity for people to find resiliency and finding what works for them and finding a way through all of that. Um, can you speak on like some of your correlation and familiarity of that, of uh, having survived cancer and seeing some of how this may actually apply to like what PTK has to offer?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I was an adult when I was diagnosed. So I
Yeah.
was 28, about 9 months after my father passed away from his own cancer.
Mhm.
So when I went through chemo, I didn't start doing art right away. I binged out on television for the
Mhm.
most part and did what a lot of folks do. So I picked up a watercolor kit.
Mhm.
And when I did that, I didn't plan out what I was going to do. It was absolutely accidental with my experience.
Mhm.
But there were times where I would study something, like I would study an image on Google, like a bird or something, and I would recreate it. And that focus for me, like that, and that's what I think about when I think of you all in your art, is focus and the stamina to continue to go. And like, I don't know if you've ever watercolored or not, but it is one, rumor has it, it's one of the most challenging, I would say like painting techniques or whatever. I didn't know that. I didn't think anything of it. I just was throwing paint around like a crazy person. But I think there was a lot of benefit to that because I wasn't in my head about it. So I just focused and I was able to exercise discipline. And through that, I would, create a painting and I'd set it on the coffee table and I'd do another one. And before I knew it, I'd have a table full of just this, random rip-offs of cheap watercolor paper from the dollar store. And my husband would come home from work and he would just be like, "Oh my gosh, that's a cat." And it looks like a cat. Like I actually made a cat. And so I was able to build this confidence and it gave me so much confidence. And although I've never practiced martial arts, from what I understand is there's a relatedness there with the focus, the discipline, and then what it gave me in confidence. I think about these kids that we do art with and it's fun. We're silly. Allison and Danielle, two of our top volunteers, they create these really great questions and these prompts for us when we're doing art with kids, and we have a blast and we get to use our imaginations. And, then they have the opportunity to focus and create something with structure. So I don't know. That's what I think about, as I think about what we have in common around those components. I mean, the reality is that we all are fighters and fighters for others, which inspires me and continues to motivate me moving forward.
Well, again, you find something that you love. Actually, so what's interesting about martial arts, there's different ways that people come into it, but a very common way into it is somebody had a traumatic incident that occurred to them that's very personal, and they want to do something about it. So, in the case of surviving a terrible sickness and illness such as cancer, is you had something very traumatic happen to you, and you're trying to do something about it after surviving that. And finding something beautiful and powerful it's incredible, because the fact is the people who stick around, whether it is arts, whether it is the martial art, whatever it is, when they stick around with it, it's not necessarily about the quantity, the quality. It's the fact that it's their individual expression, it's their passion, their love, their joy, and the things that give them the opportunity to be wholesome and be there and out of their mind and out of their trauma. So again, post-traumatic growth is a big deal for anybody coming from a traumatic event. And the martial arts, just like art, has a great way to do that as a form of therapy. And a lot of people don't think about that when it comes to martial arts, especially the Filipino martial arts. But I know the guys have some thoughts about that as well. So, guys, what you got?
Angola,
Well
after you.
said, Coach. First of all, well said. There's the combative side. There's the skills that we're trying to, develop for an event that we hope may never happen. But then there's also the non-combative side, the mental, spiritual, emotional component that should be part of the training. And, if you allow it, your Kali will heal you. Or, as you said, whatever your craft is, if you're just tuned in on your craft and that becomes your mechanism for dealing with stress, not necessarily escaping it, but kind of dealing with it, then yeah, that's when your martial art or your craft is now improving your quality of life. For too often there's practitioners who might just be so focused on the combative edge, which I totally understand. You want to get good at sparring and you want to get good at, the applications and multiple opponents. But there's also that mental component where you're working through your own internal issues. You're pushing through the enemy within. And so whether that's Kali or whether that's music or painting, I do believe that's the thread throughout all of it. And I definitely advocate practitioners welcoming that kind of mindset into their martial art.
Exactly, Angola. Now, so we've all, and those who've been watching or will be watching at some other point in time, we all who have done martial arts have started martial arts for a particular reason, at different points in times of our lives. Like I started very young. Um, I watched, the fan, aside from every boy is like kung fu theater, karate movies, whatever. I hear it every day. Hiya! Walking by, like, but irks me. But I get it. Because, like, there's an enamoring there. We love seeing that. But at the same time, like when you grew up watching these things, like little fanboys that or fangirls, watching this stuff, loving the martial arts, loving the concept of the typical a protagonist going through the heroic journey and growth from nothing to something, from just a man to a hero, from someone who didn't expect to be more than what he was, or it could be a revenge story or whatever else. Every aspect always has something where we are struggling to better ourselves. It is the very foundation of martial arts, even if it's born in the military where they do this 100 push-ups, whatever, and they're on you, the drill sergeant pushing you, and they're harsh on you for a reason because they have to be. Now, Western culture has kind of pulled a little bit of that away from some martial arts, but that's still there. I talk to the parents and the kids on a regular basis. I am here 6 days a week talking to parents, and it's the same discussion that Angola's talking about. We want these kids to be able to do something for themselves, protect themselves, to grow, have accountability and stuff. It's more than just the fighting. It's more than just getting perfect technique. It's more than just, oh, I didn't get it, so I don't want to do it anymore. I want to quit. And there's all these things, and we want them to understand, like our tenets, right? We believe in life, not death. We believe in good health, not sickness. We believe in success, not failure. So we want to establish that on these children, on these kids, on the adults too, because some of these adults, young adults, need it, right? And it's just something that I think if all of us working together, and we've all established martial arts. I've never been in the military. Running gag. I think I spoke to Kurt about this a while back. Well, why I couldn't make it in, but being thick skinny as I was, I did not break the 127-pound mark. So, so for many years, so it was very too late for me. But you know, I think that each one of us, I apologize if there's any background noise. I can't tell. Um, if we all just keep pushing and don't let our want to quit get in the way, and that's going to be important, especially for the kids with and suffering with cancer. We don't want them to see that. We want to impart this energy to them so they'll fight in their own way, shape, and form for themselves, for their parents, for their loved ones. Does that make sense? I hope so.
Makes me think of strength, and strength beyond physical strength, but really that mental strength to keep going.
Brother Court, you got some wisdom for us?
I don't know how much wisdom I have. I'm just thinking back to, just over time, some of the stuff that I've gone through with this, having a mother that's gone through cancer, lost a son last year, just a bunch of these different things that I've experienced, and how it's interesting the commonalities of life that interweave across cultures, across locations, across everything. We're all people, and we can relate to each other based on being people.
We all love somebody, and somebody loves us, and that is an inherently human thing. And we often don't see that because we get so like caught up in our own little worlds. But having the unity of acknowledging that this is a human thing is a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful that everybody's here to able to share that. You have more to add to that, Brother Court?
Nowhere near as eloquently as Royce was talking about it.
It's good though, because we all have our own stories. And the thing what's interesting in the regard of post-traumatic growth is that I want to throw this concept out there that we're more than, okay? Our resiliency comes at a behest of pain and trauma, but we are more than. And when people think about the martial arts, especially a very skillfully violent martial arts such as the Philippine martial arts and Pekiti Tirsia and the military, people think, well, violence, but we are more than our violence. And just like surviving a traumatic illness such as cancer, you are more than your cancer. You're more than the mental health aspect. We are more than. And the thing that I find like that's an inherently a human thing, and then and having dealt with a lot of behavioral health clients in my previous work, I can still see that in the same with anybody who deals with a traumatic illness such as cancer, is that you are more than that, and people love you regardless of that. And that's something I wish that we get more of our opportunity to like say that publicly, that it's okay that you're hurting, but you are more than your pain, and you're beautiful regardless of that. And what's beautiful about it is that we have some very alpha male strong men here sharing in that love and that compassion to show that they're more than that, and that is beautiful. So
The fun thing about the whole alpha male thing and such, um, I think there's a lot of talk about alpha male, beta male, sigma male, and all that stuff. I'm just a male. I'm a guy. I'm a dude pretending to be a dude. No, sorry. Um, no, the reality is, if you're a man and you understand the concept of responsibility in life and the people you care for, you have people you care for, and like you said, the people who care for you. There's a duty and responsibility, no matter if you're in the military or not. You have a responsibility as a fellow human to do what you got to do to help those less fortunate, our noblesse oblige, so to say. So that's a very important aspect to me. So when I was younger, my mother would take us to the Philippines, right? So I've been going back and forth to the Philippines since like '82, and I learned firsthand at how lucky I was. And I'm in suburbia America, you know. I have a high ranch, but you know, I don't have no mansion. I don't have Brazilian cars or whatever, right? I'm not no bling, you know, right? There's an obligation that we have, in my opinion. Now, of course, everybody's different, but in my perception and what I believe, hey, to him, Jack, um, is is that we have one to pay it forward. That's part of our duty and responsibility of men who choose to take up a mantle of leadership, of instructorship, of teaching. We have that responsibility and obligation. So that's part of the reasons why I do what I do. I have like a number, right? And we all do. So that's why this has been very important to me. I have friends I've lost through cancer. I have friends who have had family who've lost who they lost through cancer. We all, like Brother Cord did not know about your losses. Renee didn't know about your struggles. We all have or know people who have been going through struggles. And, you know, I don't know what that feels like per se. I'll never claim to, but I do know that I don't ever want to know people close to me to go through that. So I want to do what I can to help mitigate that, or whatever, even if it's 0.5%, that's 0.5% better than it would have been, right? That's what I want to do. And we have our reasons. This is why when Mandela Rich asked me to do this, there was no question, no second thought. It was just, yes, I'm done. I'm in. Let's go. Let's make it happen. That's, again, that's me, you know, and
Regarding post-traumatic
yeah,
growth, real quick, I just wanted to jump in and just say something. You got me thinking, the Stoics have a quote, the obstacle is the way. And in a lot of ways, me also having survived my own traumas and having worked as well in behavior and mental health, the trauma can be the thing that takes you to the next level. It's hard to see it, especially when you're in the midst of it, and you can't really say it like that to someone that's going through it. But in a way, if we could kind of lean in and kind of accept the circumstances that we cannot change, the trauma can be what elevates us. He's saying alpha males, childbirth is pain. The strength of the woman in those moments. And so I reflect on that, seeing my own wife, having my own children, about how, to an extent, there's life and creation in that pain if we kind of endure it. Just wanted to add that. I see there's a question on there, but you guys got me thinking on post-traumatic growth and how important it is.
And I would like Renee to check out what Mandala Rich said. And I think it's a very good question. And, again, whether martial artists or an organizer such as yourself, when you struggled in any way, shape, or form and felt like quitting, how was that like? And what did you do to overcome it? And maybe have something you can even impart to those experiences to people who feel that way in their art as it is, like such as now. Like I'm sure there's lots of people now who feel like they want to quit for whatever reason. And I'll say this to people, I never liked the idea of quitting. I've never been a big fan of the easy way out, but that's me. How about you, Renee?
Well, there definitely been times, starting and leading a nonprofit is difficult, and there have been some very hard times. And not once have I ever thought about giving up and throwing in the towel. And I'll tell you, one example that keeps me moving forward is getting to know and see the kids that we do art with. So as we've grown and expanded, I can't be in every hospital for every art hour, but I stay very connected to the kids I serve. And I got to do art hour last month with a kiddo, and it was absolutely incredible. And I think having that experience and staying on the ground and feeling my purpose and my passion come to life has been absolutely motivating and encouraging me to get over those humps. I think, when I think about, a lot of people ask me, why kids? Why did you start with kids? I mentioned earlier, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was an adult. So why not adults? Well, there's a bunch of different reasons. I thought about my suffering as an adult going through chemo, and I thought about the resources and support that I had. I was able to drive myself to appointments. I could buy my own things. I have an incredible husband who would pack up the car and take me to nature so I could watercolor. And I had a really great support system. I think about kids and I think about how supported they are as well, with their families. But I think about how kids are supposed to be kids. They are supposed to be playing with their friends, part of a sports team, surrounded by family in their own homes. And the tragic truth is they're not. Over 15,000 kids a year are diagnosed with cancer. And we help even more than that as any child who's struggling with illness. But I think about that and I think about their parents and how, for me, I was the patient. So for me, it was like, okay, do this. It's awful. There's a lot of suffering that goes with it. But I just think about a parent to go through that and what we can do. It's just an obligation at this point. There's no choice to give up. It's just what we do. It's our obligation. It's our responsibility to bring joy and to help these kids be kids in hospitals. Quitting's not an option for us. Certainly not me.
That's beautiful.
Why do people quit? It's a deeper question. I think in terms of martial arts, people aren't being honest with themselves, or perhaps there was failed expectations, or they had a bad experience. Kind of lines in one of those three. If it's a bad experience, then, that might be the fault of the school. But failed expectations and not being honest with yourself, I don't think it just stops with martial arts. You engage in something and then you're like, oh, I don't really want to do this, or I didn't really want it that bad. or your expectations of what you thought the experience was going to be like. And so again, it goes to the martial arts mindset. Why do people quit in the first place? And how do we deal with people who quit, who want to give up, whether they're a martial arts student? So I could imagine those young people, when they want to give up, what are your strategies, Renee? That's the real healing right there.
That's such a good question. It's tough. I mean, it's finding something bigger than yourself. I think it really just depends, but it's really hard. I mean, I'm trying to think of, more of a specific example, but I mean, when I'm surrounded by these kids and we're doing art at the table, I mean, that's just such a release for them that, they have this outlet. They're not thinking about, giving up, or they're not thinking about their suffering. They're focused, they're having fun. Um, they're on an adventure as we imagine silly things. And so, deeper than that, I think it's just, seeing what's outside of yourself.
One thing is I'm actually, quite happy that to be a part of this because, one thing I know that in my life, that art helped me. You know what I mean? I grew up doing visual arts, really graphic arts, painting, watercolor, um, sketching, drawing, painting, whatever. And that was a big part of my life for so long. And that and martial arts were always part and parcel of my life. And I think that giving people this opportunity, this hope, helps them. That they could find something like within the art that helps guide them to that light that they need to, that helps give them that extra energy to fight and move forward, press forward.
It makes me think,
So,
I remember I had a coach who said, you're never tired when you're winning, like in the sparring match, and I tell my own students, if you feel like you're losing, you're probably gassing out. And I think that art experience that you give to the young people or whatever it is how do you make people feel like they're winning when it seems like they're losing? And how do you get that mindset to be in the midst of the storm? I mean, we're still searching for it, and we're searching for it together. But it's feeling like you're winning, I think, even in the midst of the pain and the trauma.
Yeah. Well, I'll speak to that for a second. I have one of the things that I hear a lot of adults say is, I'm not a good artist, or, I can't really paint, or what I paint doesn't look like something. But at Creations for Cures, it's not about the outcome; it's about the process. So, there's no winning or losing when you do art with Creations for Cures. It's the process. It's having the courage to pick up the paintbrush and just explore whether you want to dump yellow paint on and swirl it around and throw a streak of glue on it. I mean, there's no expected outcome. And so I think that's part of, why we do what we do really well, is that we're not there to make sure that everybody's house looks like a house.
absolutely. And, the same thing in martial arts, we all kind of dive into it. Some people go in with certain type of expectations. I totally understand that. At the same time, just because it doesn't go your way doesn't mean you can't give up. And I'm sure all of us, whether martial art or job I don't even want to go into the deeper aspect of Renee might have gone through, but it's the the challenges they face, and they don't understand that it's okay. It's okay to it's okay to be bad. It's okay to suck. You'll get better. We'll get better. We'll get better together. Now, um, Mandala Rich posed the question of, is there anything people should have to train if it's their first time in this? And um, just bring, for everybody who's going to come who are either new to FMA or new to martial arts, or people who are truly interested and want to pick up some stuff and learn, right? one thing you should have is some training sticks and training knives, training pistol if you have one, rubber gun, plastic pistol, something, right? And we'll go from there. It's going to be really not. I don't want to say intense because it's not going to be intense. We're not treating this like an intensive camp. Those are intense, but it's going to be something that's going to be very thorough for each one of us. We're going to be presenting, so that way people, beginner, intermediate, advanced, will get something out of it. And if, as long as you bring that to the table, whether at your location at home, if you're going to be joining us on Zoom, or coming here live, again, training sticks, 2 sticks, just to be safe, training knife, training pistol, and then bring your drive, bring your thirst, bring your hunger, bring your want and love to learn, to grow, to improve. Maybe there's something you think you don't get and you're too new. Don't worry about that. There's plenty there. And when you get the video to review, you will learn again and learn again. So people know, those who are joining us live or on Zoom, they get a copy of the link to download the event so they could always review it. We got you, but trust in the process and let us help you.
If I could add on to that a couple things. Number one, don't forget a notebook. There's no substitute for writing notes on your own. Yes, we're going to have video. Yes, there's going to be people to talk to, whatever else. Writing notes is the best way to learn things. Write them down. Write them down again. It'll go a long ways towards helping. If you're worried about doing my portion specifically with the pistol, etc., if you just have a real pistol but not a training pistol, that's fine too. We're going to work with some of that, and we'll make sure everybody's training safely. That's the key in the whole thing. Renee, I'm listening to you talk about the art and everything, and it sounds very familiar. There's two basic training methods in almost any kind of training you're doing, whether it's military or anything else, and that's outcome-based training or performance-based training. Outcome-based training being how high, how far, how much, how fast. Does it look exactly like the picture? Is it exactly that over there? Versus a performance-based training model that simply says, are you performing whatever we're doing to the best of your ability in the most timely, efficient manner so that you can improve for yourself, because you're really only competing or working against yourself, which is exactly what it sounds to me like you're talking about with the art, and how it's able to work with everybody is no matter what you're doing, what you're not doing, how well you're doing the best for you. And that's really all you're trying to get.
That's awesome. I know Miss Renee needs to pop off, but do you have any final thoughts for us?
Dude, thank you so much. It is an incredible honor to have your support and the PTK community helping us fight for these kids who need us. Our mission is so incredibly critical, and with all of my heart and on the behalf of the entire Creations for Cures team, thank you. Thank you all so much for having me today, for having us as part of this beautiful fundraiser, and for inspiring me through the great practice that you all do. So I'm looking forward to September 9th. I will be there, and I'm excited to see you all at the very latest at then. So thank you.
Thank you, Miss Renee. It's good to finally meet you and meet your acquaintance. Safe travels, and I'll throw your page up here as you leave out. And yeah, we'll stay in contact. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you all. Good to see you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Take care and see you soon.
So here is the website for Creations for Cures, and it's over there. Wait, that's not the right button, but still, everybody can see that there. Undoubtedly, there's also a Facebook page. I'll find that and throw in the links as well. But yeah, that's awesome. So Gentlemen, what's going on? Let's talk FMA. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yes, sir. So where we want to start, guys?
You're the host. Fire away with a few shots, and let's see where it goes.
Okay. So I actually want to start with this first. I want to thank all of you for coming on here. And I know, like, coming on a podcast, especially an FMA podcast, can be a little dicey, to use the pun. So there's that. But I'm really grateful for what you guys have done with this fundraiser event, and also like all the work you're leading up to it, the marketing for it, and not even just jumping on here and like having the I hate to use the term vulnerability, but like the transparency, the integrity, all those things to like say your beautiful truths. And so I want to celebrate all of you for that. So yeah, hands on. That's awesome, guys.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you for getting us on. I know it's like kind of last minute, and at the same time, because we only have less than 3 weeks to go, and we're all like doing the mad scramble, push, getting it. Because we get it. There are people, life gets in the way, or everybody has stuff lined up, and they're just waiting to finish whatever event, or waiting for their paycheck, or waiting for the authorization to leave. We understand that. We get that. It is frustrating from an administrative standpoint. I totally get it. Because we all have students who can't make it on a regular basis because work, family, injury, all the above. So we can't be frustrated at them, right? It's not, that wouldn't be right.
Wouldn't it be so great if we were all just professional martial artists and this is what we do no matter what? Wouldn't that be the life?
Not bad.
Yeah.
It is, I do say it does have long hours.
Yeah, it does.
If we're living by the principles, if we're
sir.
living as much as we can, in the mindset outside of what we do in our classes, then perhaps that's how we can get close to it. Not everyone can do this full time, but everyone can live this full time.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's one way to look at it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So I'm actually really curious, Brother Court. So you've posted and you've talked about this in the past. Running a knife like you run a pistol. Can you explain that to me? Because I would love to hear it straight from you, sir. Because I have some ideas, but I want to hear what you have to say on that. Because I'm really curious.
Okay, the first thing you got to look at is truly running a knife in an effective manner. Meaning, how do we grip it? How do we put our body behind it? How do we maneuver around it? I'll be real honest with you. I've done things training my students where I give them a training knife and I make them stab a wooden post for an hour, working thrusts on a post. You learn how to grip it, how to grip a knife, how to move your body, all of that when doing that kind of thing. The other thing is, let's look at the surfaces on a knife that we can attack with. On a single edge knife, okay? Obviously, there's the cutting edge. Obviously, there's the tip for thrusting. There's also the a puño for striking, for hooking, for trapping, for many other uses there. Okay. Now, what about the spine of that blade? We can use that for trapping and hooking. What about the tip, the back of the tip? Now, what many people call a thrust with that is actually a rip, where we're taking the tip of the blade and ripping through the skin. Whether it's over the eyes, that's an extremely effective place to use this, is right over the eyes. Why? The skin is very thin right there. The bone is very close to the surface. There's an amazing amount of capillaries there, so we get huge blood flow, all of that. Okay? Now, when we're looking at a pistol, okay, most people, when they think of a pistol, most people just look at the one opening at the front as being the dangerous part of the gun. Okay? Well, now, what about under the barrel along the frame? That's a sharp edge. rough place. I can strike with that. I can strike with it. I can hook. I can trap. I can parry. Any number of things from there. I can thrust with that muzzle. Then, if you do one of the few modifications that I would tell anybody that gets a gun, that gets a pistol for personal protection to do, and you ensure that the sights on your pistol are steel, never plastic. And I have to specify that because some of the most well-known and well-used pistols on the market come very commonly with plastic sights.
Yeah.
They're serviceable at best. That's it. Steel is the much preferred method for sights. Okay, if you have steel sights on that gun, number one, yes, I can use the rear sight to cycle the gun to clear malfunctions, to charge the gun, etc., etc. But now, what about the front sight? Okay, just like I can rip across the eyebrows with the back of the tip of a knife. Why can't I do the same thing with that front sight?
We're speaking the same language. So
why can't I use it under the nose, in the ear, on the hand, in the elbow? Any of the places that we would use a knife, I can replace that with a pistol. Okay? That's some of the basic ideas with this. And then when you look at it from the Pekiti Tirsia standpoint, in the Gasa Tirsia, there are 5 elements of the Gasa Tirsia. So Bayan, Palasu, Pasakai, Panud, Pasagat. Okay? If you take those elements, they transfer to any weapon that we want to use. Hands, knives, double knives, wasai, anything you can think of, those 5 elements still transfer. So if we're using those 5 elements, we're still using the concepts of a knife. Okay?
Tracking.
Whether we're looking for an opening, we're riding, we're meeting, we're flowing, whatever it is, that's still knife concepts. That's still the way we would apply a knife. And when you look at so many Filipino martial arts, my background being obviously in a Pekiti Tirsia, but also in Illustrissimo Bahad Zubu, before I started my Pekiti training, so much of Filipino martial arts is based in, while we learn a set of techniques based on angles, footwork, body mechanics, etc., then it becomes, how do we apply those? And the one commonality among every Filipino martial art that I'm aware of is those are based on concepts within that system that say we take these common set of movements and we apply them using these concepts. And that's really the essence of the system. That's the idea of using a pistol like a knife. Now, if you get into, if you really want to get into Pekiti Tirsia, according to Tuhan Mel, the rifle is part of the Malaya Sabat subsystem.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Long range weapon. Okay. It would work very similarly if you're in the military. If you did any sort of rifle bayonet training, anything like that, that's extremely similar to Malaya Sabat.
Soft P redirect, engage, soft P redirect, engage. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, so that's some of the concepts that the reality is we already know the movements, we already know the techniques, we already know how to do the things. Let's just look at a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah. Tracking that. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Like I said, I had some ideas, but you've confirmed, and that's awesome. You're speaking a language of love that I understand. So
now, here's the other part.
Yes, sir.
Just like we train to access the knife, whatever else, we have to train to do the same thing with the pistol, because the reality says life is not a duel. Life doesn't start like an MMA fight.
Yep, you're correct.
We're most likely going to get surprise attacked, ambushed, that sort of thing. And we have to deal with the ambush, create a tactical pause, access our tools, and then go to work with whatever we're trying to do.
Battle drill 1 alpha. Got to still react to that contact.
Yep. We're going to have to react to contact and create fire superiority one way or another. That's for sure.
Sir. Yes, sir. That's awesome. I love being able to speak the language that I miss speaking with my peers. So yeah, that's awesome. Uh, yeah, Brother Angola, you've been shaking your head and agreeing. What's your thoughts on this as well? I mean, we're really just at this point we can just talk about whatever we want,
I
guys.
had the good fortune of traveling to Colorado and learning on the court with exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah,
And so I'm smiling and I'm nodding because I'm reminiscing of the training that we did, and he lives what he speaks, and he'll be able to demonstrate that. So it's resonating with me, and I think the practitioners are going to be in for a treat. You know, on my end, empty hand versus blade. This is a situation we would never normally advocate for. We know how deadly the blade is. We're looking at improvised weapons or weapons of opportunity, or possibly drawing, as Court said. However, there might be some circumstances if you're caught off guard, or if you're in an environment, a school perhaps, or depending on where you're working, where you just might not have those things on hand. And just the way the principles are derived from the blade, how you use the firearm, the empty hand is derived from the same concepts. So in the city of Philadelphia, you know, we're dealing with a lot of crime. And so just living in the urban environment, you know, our practitioners, our students, you know, we bring that edge to the training as well. And so for what we're going to do for this event, of course, it's going to be fundamentals. But as we progress in like our regular class, we're doing a lot of pressure testing and scenario training because, as Court said, the fight is not in a duel. No. You know, it may start definitely not in front of you. And so getting practitioners used to from the side, you hear something from behind and you have to turn around. Just trying to put you through as many stressful scenarios as possible. In not on creation for cures, well, maybe a little bit of it, but in empty hand versus blade training is very much fundamental, you know, and you know, in Philly, we try to get students to either get to a position of, you know, you're surviving that initial encounter to either draw, escape, or you have to apply a takedown or some violence, you know, dip, destroy, deploy. One of those three is what you're looking at. And so, you know, it's a vast subsystem that we could talk about for hours, but trying to break it down to core elements so that beginners can understand it and new students can understand it. I think that's where the key is. I mean, what's good about what happens at the event, not to cut you, Coach, is that all of our stuff is kind of going to be overlapping. So the powers that Royce is doing is going to bleed into the empty hand versus knife. It's going to cut into what Court's doing. It's going to connect with the Spotty Daga. So there should be a common thread.
That's awesome, because like basically what I was saying is to talk about the fundamentals again. Fundamentals of drawing, like you got a pencil, you got a paper, you have a reason, you have a purpose, and you have a passion. So the tools may change, but like the intent behind it, that's the common core here. So that adaptability and that creativity, that's the core of all of it. It's still art because it's creative, whether it's a violent creativity or a curative creativity, it's still creativity.
Yeah. You know, in the same way we apply that creativity and we could draw any weapon, we can use the Kali in reverse too. If we look at stress and problems in life as a knife attack, can we flow? Can we adapt? Can we deflect? You know, and so that's how we're living it in both ways.
Yep.
And so I'm constantly trying to think of these concepts. That way, if I ever have to apply them, I'm already in the motion of it.
Yeah.
It won't feel as much like a surprise.
Well, it's interesting because, like, when it comes to FMA and specifically like Pekiti Tirsia, because the lineage history and the military connection of Pekiti Tirsia, people think about the hyper-violent, hyper-combative side of it, but they don't actually. If one, they haven't been have it explained to them, or they haven't had that martial arts maturity to make that connection of like it's not just about the weapons, folks. It's the adaptability, the creativity, and the living the life, not living the life of violence. It's living the life by the principles, not the violence. And that's a lot of people just don't get that opportunity because they have 15 seconds on TikTok. So stuff like this, we have an opportunity to express the overall scope and validation and beauty that is this dedication to an art that you guys so love.
You know, not to speak for everybody that I know, but those of us who have been doing this for Pekiti for quite some time, like myself, I've been doing it for the past 25 years. You know, it's the one art that I did that I'm like, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I've learned other stuff, but to me, again, like we talked about before, it's FMA to me. It's all encompassing in this. So, and in regards to all this material, the intent, like I've talked about in the past, train with intent, but the intent is what drives us to do what we want, whether create a masterpiece or be the masterpiece or train in a masterpiece, you know, that intent is what drove us to start our journey into whatever it was we wanted to do, whether visual arts, performing arts, musical arts, or martial arts, correct? And with that said, you know, it's I find it very interesting, and you know, with all the aspects of the sorry, with all the aspects that we talked about in in trying to get something. Yes, Morgan, it is very rich in material, and there's a lot of aspects to it. Like yes, metaphysics, you know, physical, emotional. There's so many aspects, a lot of expressions, and a lot of groups. Whether there's a Kapapuna, World Federation, Tactical Association, Classical, you know, GTS, and pick a PTK organization and group and belief. We didn't. We got into this for a reason. It's not no 15 seconds. And the problem is, there's a lot of people want to be a part of it now who lack in emotional maturity. That's what I'm looking for. They're lacking in emotional maturity. They want that instant gratification. When they see it on TikTok, they want to see and experience it. And there's a lot of people say, "Oh well, it's martial. It's all about violence." Da 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 da. I said, yes, okay, that's definitely part of it. That's why I called martial, God of art, God of war, Mars, martial. It's supposed to be, but whether it's China, India, Japan, the Philippines, Native America, you know, the fighting arts is part of the culture, and the fighting arts was more than just about the fight. It was always a way of developing the next generation. So going back to the kids, giving them guidance, teaching them accountability, discipline, respect, maturity, right? Guiding the next after them, and so on and so forth, paying it forward as they move ahead. And should they have to, if the situation applies itself, sacrifice. My tribe, my family. We do what we do for my tribe, my family. Correct? You have your tribe, we all have our tribes, we all have our families. And I'm not just, you know, they just talked about, you know, in the airport, in the airplanes, we talk about an emergency when the air masks come down, right? What do they tell you? Put it on the kids first? No, they tell you put the air mask on you first before they put it on the child, right? Because we have to be prepared for these things, and that's our responsibility, is to take care of ourselves first and pass it down the line. And that's, again, a big part of it, why I think that there's a lot of people who just lack emotional maturity. They could be 12 years old, they could be 240. There are a lot of people of different ages who lack emotional maturity. You probably shouldn't get into this, because they probably have been told what we've told them, what we've talked about now, but they don't want to hear it. Because blades are cool,
You know
dude.
the thing that I got to tell you? I've been fighting since I was 12 years old. boxing, Muay Thai, MMA, the military, all kind of stuff. Um, Now I go catch fugitives, go down and do different things on the border, looking at stuff with kids, uh, lots of things like this. And the thing that I find and have found that changes people the most, especially kids, is not. You can talk to them, but that doesn't make sense to them a lot of times. It doesn't make sense. Do I have the kindness to change the outcome of a bad situation in my life? That will resonate through literally every single aspect of the day, no matter what it is. Because at the end of the day, guys, we can talk about all the physical things, all the great things. What is the ultimate commodity anywhere in the world? Is violence. We may not want to deal with it. We may not want to see it all the time, but that's still the reality that everybody has to live. Is violence is the ultimate commodity, and the one that is
Mm-hmm.
willing and prepared to perform the greatest amount of violence is ultimately going to be the winner when it comes to that. And those are the rules. And sometimes it's possible to overthink this stuff
Yep.
and get away from, hey, look, really what this is about is not me, not mine. Because that's truly what it comes down to. And yep, there's a lot of benefits that come into it as a result. But the end state is, are you able to do what you spend so much time training?
Agreed. Agreed. And I mean, this is the point of putting in the work. We can only talk about so much theory and practice and ideals, but you got to put in the work. And part of that putting in the work is, well, let's strap the gloves on and get in the cage, or let's go out in the yard and grab some sticks, or let's put some time on the range. I mean, you have to put in the work. You have to live the lifestyle. But a part of that lifestyle is having, again, the emotional maturity to get there. Because, I mean, let's face it, young men, if they don't make it to 30 or even have the mental connection, they may never ever get it. But if they survive through all those incremental stages of development to build those neurocognitive bonds between their prefrontal cortex and their amygdala and actually survive through all of their stupidity as young men, they can come to that end state of emotional maturity. That's wonderful and it's great because they can actually pass on that wisdom that from their shared experiences. Because again, dealing with young men, we were all young men at one point, and we were all very stupid and did very foolish things. And what I remember
Still
with my
am.
soldiers is like 19-year-old, 18-year-old soldier, and it's like, dude, just do the job, and we'll explain later. We'll spend the time getting you through it, but just do the job, and we'll get you to that point. And if you make it, that's great. But sometimes people just don't make it. But it's the ones who like have the opportunity to make it through and share that wisdom thereafter, that's important. And that's what I find with the leadership that is a martial arts instructor is they survived all their stupid so they can share that to the next generation.
I'm hearing rites of passage here. I'm hearing
Yes,
rites of
sir.
passage, and I'm hearing you approach it as a martial artist. That's one thing, but these
Mm-hmm.
martial arts, they never exist in a vacuum or void. They're from a culture,
Yep.
and all of these cultures, every culture had a martial art,
Mm-hmm.
and that martial art was like a warrior way. There was a rites of passage evolved into becoming a warrior for that culture. And that rites of passage fashioned your character and your mind to be formidable enough to put your life on the line and take a life, but still not be savage and still be humane. I think
Mm-hmm.
that was all the ancient ways. That was what the rites of passage was about. And the military might be one of the last few places where that rites of passage is still I can't speak for it as Royce from what I see, not even semi. That is a rites of passage for young men.
Yeah.
As martial artists, instructors, we must do our best to recreate those kind of trials within
Mm-hmm.
our students. Not in a forced way. It's got to be natural and organic, but correct. We would be doing a disservice we can't just talk about the morality of the martial arts. We got to actually put them through situations and, that actually foster that kind of, those kind of characteristics. I think the military does a great job of that.
I agree.
Absolutely.
And I think it's that, like, to understand violence, you have to face violence at some point. And if you survive it, you learn something from it. But it's just like we can intellectually understand a process from a academic standpoint, but to experience it, there's a whole level of truth that comes out from having lived that experience, and passing on that wisdom is again, it's important. Again, like the whole aspect of the men of the tribe, regardless of what culture, what ethnosphere, men of the tribe trained in the yard, the boys watched up to a point that they can participate, prepared for war, went to war to defend the tribe, came back if they survived, and the cycle continued. So, and that again, a rite of passage. But they had to face that adversity and that violence to truly understand it, so they can pass on that wisdom.
The same way that mother has to face that violence to have that baby.
That's correct.
There's no way around it.
Yep.
We need the pain. We got to embrace it. It's part of life.
Yes, it is. Looks like Brian's going to pop in here. One sec. What do you got there, Brother Court?
I'm just listening.
Alrighty.
Looks
like Brian's going to pop in.
Oh, Brian's coming?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, I was just saying, Brian, that'll be cool, because I haven't seen him in a while. But, rites of passage. It's funny because, like, I have a young man. He's training a very short period of time with me because he's about to head. He was originally going to do Army, but then having talked to several recruiters and such, he's actually going to go into the Air Force because of his. He already has a college degree, and he's going to go in as an officer. But he's training, so I'm training him to kind of help him be a little bit prepared for what he goes into. Physical training, he really lost weight, got a little more fit, and building up a push-up game, stuff like that. But also training the Pekiti, kickboxing, traditional material, etc. Guro Brian, what's good, brother?
How's it going, guys? How's it going? I just wanted to drop in here real quick. I braved the microburst, the monsoon season of New Mexico to grace you with my presence.
I think more or less you survived the VA.
I'm just glad to see you made it out of the VA.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there since 8:30 this morning. Yeah,
that sounds like a normal appointment.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, I'm over here dying. My lungs are shrilling the dust over here. I'm sitting in the waiting room over there. Anyway, I want to let you guys continue your conversation. I want to welcome you personally to the Fight House Talks podcast. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate all you guys. I'm going to drop out. I just want to let you guys continue your conversation. I just wanted to not to be a lurker and shit, lurking in the comments. I want to come on here and say hi. And I got a rubber chicken now, so.
Yes.
I had to be official, man. I had to be official. So,
yes.
Anyway, you seem you guys having a great conversation. I'll let you guys continue, but I just wanted to come in, drop in, say hi. I got some shit I got to do. But thank you for coming on. I appreciate all you guys taking the time to come on night and talk to Coach Kurt. And just to let you know personally, the Fight House Talks podcast definitely wholeheartedly supports any fundraisers, especially for the cause that you guys are doing. You guys are awesome in my book. Definitely men of your word and men of a lot of respect. So I have a lot of respect for each and every one of you. And keep doing what you guys are doing. And I'm gonna get my ass out of here. Coach Kurt, you can go and continue. I gotta get dinner started. I haven't eaten yet. So anyway.
All right, man.
All right, guys. Thank you for all coming on. Appreciate it. And we'll hopefully we'll get together and I get more time. We'll get to like another in-depth discussion.
Sweet.
Take care, Brian.
Take care, guys. Thank you. Thanks for being on. Thank you. All right.
Later, man. I'll see you later. Okay.
Bye.
And yeah.
It's great to meet Guro Brian. Coach Kurt, great to meet you as well. Unfortunately, my time is running short for this evening, but I support this channel. I support this cause, and thank you guys for supporting us as well. Court, Royce, my brothers, it's great to see you guys. I'll see you guys in a few weeks. And for folks who are tuning in, if you can attend the event in person or Zoom, that's great. If you can't attend the event, a donation goes a long way. Sacrifice that cup of coffee for that week, and make your contribution. And thank you all for tuning in, and I appreciate you all to the future.
Awesome. Well, stay in contact. Yeah. All righty. Let's see. There's a couple other questions we got in here. Let's see. Yeah. Is it Mandala or is it Tuhan? For Excano Jones.
That's Mandala.
Mandala. Okay. So he's got a question as to what brought me to FMA. Was it military, or were you always aware of Filipino culture? Well, long story short, I'm Filipino. I was adopted by an American family that were stationed there in the Philippines, Clark Air Base back in the 80s. All my martial arts come to me by way of that family. They've been in military service since the French and Indian War. There's been a Leffler in military service in every conflict since then without break. So there's that. And same with martial arts. So long story short, my adoptive grandfather was a Golden Gloves boxer, went off to World War II as a U.S. Marine. He was a Marine Raider with the 2nd Marine Division, went from Guadalcanal, Iwo Jima to Burma, and came back. Somewhere along the way, he brought a single knife, single stick. Yeah, the dude was a badass, but he was also like, he had some straight trauma. He brought back a single knife and a single stick methodology to the family. Stripped out all the FMA, all the Filipino cultural references, talked to myself, my father, my uncles, and just didn't pass on any of that information. So as a child, I mean, I grew up training Kenpo, boxing, shorty flicks. My adopted father is also an old Ed Parker black belt. He actually fought Long Beach International. He's got a lot of martial arts in his background himself. He's also a pro fighter. So there's that. But I was training at a Taekwondo school in Utah, and there was a Filipino man there that was training as one of the black belts, and he saw me playing with sticks, knives, and swords, and was like, "Oh, you're Filipino. I'm Filipino. You should know what FMA is." And I had no idea what it was. Come to find out that he was a modern arnis black belt, and he started putting names attached to the things I was already doing. And so, I mean, I've been training since I was 7. I've actually been in the FMA community for about 30 plus years, but I've also been in martial arts for like 30 plus years. So that's where I'm constantly asking, is it FMA? Because I mean, I've done a lot of it, and I've done a lot of things. I mean, I was a professional martial artist. I owned a gym. I trained fighters professionally. I was a professional fighter. So I've been around all this for many, many years. But I got involved with PTK back in the day. I have some influences with SIOC back in the day. But like formally, my formal affiliation to things at this point in my life now is by way of Gutu Ron Croach Belton Lubis, who was on the show yesterday. He and I have been friends for many, many years. And I was going to be an affiliate school for his Muay Thai program back in 2019 before I shut down. But by way of him, I am training specifically Tabuada Balintawak Eskrima, but I'm also doing some PTK and NSI. So it's just everything kind of gets in the mix with me. So I'm not necessarily looking for ranks in anything. It's just I love my cultural connection to stuff because FMA is inherent to like how I reconnect my culture and heritage. But I also just love this. So I dabble and I do it all. And so, I mean, it's really not like I have a specific mission as to who and what I belong to. It's just I belong to it all because FMA, again, I questioned, is it FMA? Well, the answer is yes. And the answer is I love it all. So I hope that answers your question there, Mandala Jones. I mean, it's long-winded, but yeah. But yeah. Let's see
I thought that was very cool and great to hear about your story, your journey.
Yeah, thank you.
We all, not some of the people who might be watching this that have been shared this link through our connections don't know who you are. So it's good so they can see that. And it's good for me because I like knowing about the people I've become friends with. So good.
And that's the thing where I'm at right now. So here's the other one too: is FMA in politics. You can't get away from it. The way I get away, the way that I get away from it is being apolitical because I don't swear by a flag. I love FMA, and my goal and my mission is to share as much FMA and love of the FMA within the community as possible. So by doing so, I just want to share it all with everybody. And if I can do that by giving a voice to everybody, I'm going to do that. So, and I want to approach this by way of love because doing this by way of warfare, I've been there, done that. I want to do this by way of love. So,
Can I share a pet peeve
yes,
in
sir.
the way of a question
Yes, sir.
and get some feedback about it, please?
Yeah.
The way the term FMA is used so commonly these days
Mm-hmm.
bugs me
That's
severely.
fair. Okay.
Well, the reason. Let me give you the reason because it's not fair for me to just state that and then leave it like that. Here's the reason. FMA is no different than the term kung fu or karate
Mm-hmm.
or taekwondo or jujitsu, any other broad umbrella term for a martial art.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't refer to any other martial art as karate or kung fu or anything else like that. Those all get their specific name, whether it's Hungar, Chali, Fat, Wing Chun, whatever it is, Okinawan karate, uh, whatever specificity that it is, they all get that honor of being recognized as their specific style or system.
Yes.
But yet we want to lump the FMA, the Filipino martial arts, into one large group of just, well, it's FMA. No, it's not FMA. I can tell you there's some similarities with the Ilustrísimo Bahadzubu and Pekiti Tirsia, and there's some differences. They're
Mm-hmm.
not the same. And the concepts behind them, the uh, the intent, some of those kind of things are very different.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a little bit of exposure to some Balintawak, and it is very similar in that same way of it's very different from these others, even though it is still a Filipino martial art. So my
Mm-hmm.
question is, how do we make this all fit together in a way that people can understand it? Because at this point, I don't know that non-practitioners would know the difference in Pekiti Tertia versus FCS Lightning Kali.
Yeah, agreed. I totally
Same
agree with
here.
you there.
I've had the same argument and complaint for years and now it's getting worse because here you got people, Filipinos who migrate to the U.S. in the early 19th century, early 20th century, late 19th century. Play Panantukin, right? Panantukin, whatever they do, whatever. Oh, well, that's not an FMA. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, it was made in the Philippines, but it's Filipinos from the
But
Philippines who
but is it
made.
really or is it Spanish?
Mm, so
Here,
that's the thing.
here's the
A
thing
lot of
that
people talk about. Go ahead, sorry,
here's
coach.
here's the way that I address it. So the the modern nation state that is the Philippines only has existed less than 100 years. The modern nation state, the wide diaspora of the several thousand islands, 7,000 of them. Okay, they are unified by modern geopolitics and not necessarily by a singular uh, ethnosphere. So there's the archipelago. So the problem that we run into is like the generalizations of I'm going to use the indigenous American tribes, the Native Americans. We have a tendency in the West to lump everything to a commonality, but each individual Native tribe is unique in themselves, and they are not a unified nation. We've done that. The West has done that with the modern nation state of the Philippines, as in taking 7,000 different islands with several thousand different tribal groups, lumped them together because of geopolitics, and said, "Hey, you're Filipino." But the fact of the matter is, they're not. They're all so different. But like we want to simplify things down, and it's frustrating. But until we can figure out like what it is to be a Filipino, because that's a fun discussion. Because every Philam it has that in their brain as to what is it to be a Filipino, because we get this constant question of we're not Filipino enough. So what it is to be a Filipino. So to understand what is Filipino martial arts, we have to define what is to be Filipino, as in is it the ethnicity, the modern social cultural state, or is it the wide diaspora of that particular region of the world? So, I mean, is that something along the line what you're thinking there, Brother Court?
I will back out of the discussion of what it is to be Filipino or what that means, and gracefully deflect that to some other people that are more qualified through heritage or ethnicity than I am.
Word.
What I will say to this is, I think we do ourselves a disservice if we don't specify what it is we're doing. Because how do we educate people out there if we don't present it in such a way that they start asking the question?
Agreed. I agree.
I mean, FCS Lightning Arnis, Modern Arnis, Balintawak, PTK, Illustrissimo Bahadzubu, Sayak, whatever it is, and the list goes on.
Mm-hmm.
They all deserve to have their own understanding. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe the only way to do that is if we start identifying this is what we're doing and this is what it is.
I
if
agree.
You want to know why or you want to know more, we can gladly discuss that. But this is what it is. I
totally agree with you, because the fact is, without specificity, we run into the homogenous, bland approach of generalization. The fact of the matter is, to celebrate in our uniqueness, we have to be specific into what we're being unique about. But people don't have that forward thinking of that capability often to like sit here and critically think about what is this, what are we actually seeing it, and not overgeneralizing, because people just don't do that, and that's frustrating. Because one, they're not taught to do it, and two, they just don't have the mental capacity because of time, because they're too busy on TikTok, so they generalize, and it's really frustrating. Because, okay, both of us as U.S. Army former soldiers, okay, we hear our brethren in the Marine Corps. We hear them sigh amongst their chewing upon crayons whenever they're referred to as soldiers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the specificity that matters, and there's the ire that comes along with not paying tribute, not paying attention to that specificity. And so until we correct people, not to a point of hostility, but like to a point that we can say, hey, it's educational. Hopefully within our sphere of influence, we have that opportunity to like express the individual uniqueness, and hopefully with enough time that'll change. So
that's a pet peeve that I've had for a while now.
Yeah.
Why we do this and why we sell ourselves short. Mm-hmm. I know that people want to give the answer of, well, because nobody really understands what it is unless they train in it. Well, that's circular logic, because the converse of that is just as true. The reason people don't understand it unless they train in it is because we that do understand it don't present it to them.
Yep. Yeah, this is a great comment here. People don't know what they don't know, but they still have to put in the effort to learn. And that effort is, one, for the practitioner and the instructor to express, this is what's unique about it. Here's the name, and here's the movements in particular that makes it unique in and of itself, and passing that on to the student or the individual they're educating. And that individual has to have that accountability of saying, oh, I paid attention to what's the unique features, the specificity of name and nomenclature, and then have the presence of mind of acknowledging that and logging it, and not regurgitating, but like sharing in that truth and knowledge. So
there's one more responsibility that goes with this.
Yes, sir.
The instructors must be knowledgeable and educated enough on their systems to be able to pass that education on to those that are interested.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you know, in regard to the terminology of FMA, you know, how it's now getting broken up. Certain groups are like, oh, we're not FMA, we're moral fighting art, MFA,
Yeah.
you know, or
Yeah.
American AFMA, American Filipino Martial Arts, or EFMA, and European Filipino Martial Arts, whatever the heck they're using nowadays. And it's sad that actually that the terminology, like, don't don't quote me on this, but from what I saw, I could be mistaken if I remember it correctly, that it is from Filipinos who came up and coined that terminology,
Mhm.
right? And so I have a running joke in my school, right? If we talk about traditional martial arts, we're not like traditional martial arts TMAs, right? Such as Taekwondo or Japanese martial arts, not so much Kung Fu because Kung Fu is very different. But we don't, they train their weapons when they get to a higher level, correct?
Mhm.
And then they're forced to, like, oh, how come you can't figure it out? It's just an extension of your body, blah, 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 right?
Mhm.
My joke is that Filipinos are lazy. We do it one way. We start with the weapon, then, no, you lose the weapon, you're still the weapon. You know, you have that. It's like, why go through the process twice? Start now one way, it's there for you later on, because all those techniques you train as that should have been secondary because it's an extension of yourself. Now here you are. Now it seems like I digress, but I had to set this up. The concept of the FMA, or the Filipino martial arts, in my opinion, was a lazy approach. Well, we are kind of lazy. So, uh, you know, um, we like, if someone just said, we're going to simplify, keep it this way, that way, we don't need to have a gazillion Filipino martial arts. Yes, 7,000 islands, 7,050 at low tide. You know, we have all these different aspects, different dialects, different connections from southern, northern, western, eastern, central, right? You know, everybody after COVID, everybody and their grandmother has an art now that we've never heard about. You know, so someone up there was like, you know what, that's a no. It's a
Guys,
lazy approach.
I'm gonna have to call it quits right quick. Coach, I hope we keep in touch
Yes, sir.
and be talking to you. Royce, I'll see you soon
Yes, sir.
up
Awesome.
there.
Well, it's a pleasure finally meeting you and making your acquaintance.
Absolutely.
Add me on Facebook. I would love to pick your brain for more stuff. I'm grateful that we've actually finally got to have a conversation.
What's your Facebook?
I will link it to the general. Actually, you can find me in that group
Perfect.
conversation that led up to it, so you can find me
Yep.
there.
Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
We will talk soon. Appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Court,
Bye.
team. Yeah, no.
We are
Well,
the two that remain. Let's more nerding out.
well, it's up to everybody if they want to listen to Phil Lamb's chit chat about FMA.
Yeah.
But again, thank you everybody for coming in to help support the event. This is, if you can please inform friends and family who might be willing to help donate to the cause. Again, a little bit goes a long way.
Yep.
10,000 people donate $1, that's $10,000, right? So if we could all step in, step up, and take a step forward, we could all do something to help children, help this great effort, and you know, take one step forward for our own selves. You know, a little bit of compassion. You know, for the kids. This is, I have a lot of great kids here in this school, and I get to know all of them and their parents, and I already know some whose parents have passed away, like on Christmas morning or in an accident, and I'm horrified, and and been able to help guide the kids so they are not violently lashing out and all this stuff. So I'm not. I would hate to see them go through something more so like cancer or some other childhood sickness or illness. So if we could all just take a little bit of effort, put our ids and egos to the side and step up and do a little bit, you know, just a little bit goes a long way. Sorry for that ranting speech.
No, that's great because I mean that's what you're here for is to say your piece. I don't know, and I allow you guys. Not allow. This is why you guys are here is to say what this means to you and what you bring to it. Because the fact is, this is all human experiences, regardless of like styles, culture, etc. This is a human experience. We love whom we love. We have parents, siblings, and others that we love, and we know somebody who is hurting. So why not share in the compassion and build that passion and share our passion in such a way that is constructive and helpful for those who are in pain? And if that means sacrificing some time and effort, it's sure better than looking at something on YouTube. I mean, this is on YouTube, but the fact of the matter is, we're sharing in something of good by doing something proactive and not being reactive. So, for people, I'm going to throw the Facebook event link for the Art of the Draw event here in the comments. So there's that. Look for that. Yeah. Do we want to cover anything else? I mean, we've been going on almost like 2 hours now. I know at like 2+, everything starts sounding like a robot. So
I'm game for whatever you want to talk about. You
yeah.
know, because I know
Well,
we've covered quite a bit as it is.
absolutely. Well, what I'll do is I'll do our final outs. I'll have you drop down in the bottom, and then we'll just hang out offline for a little while.
Sounds good.
All right, brother Royce. I will drop you out. So here we are. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Here is some of that event. That event advertisement. I'm stumbling at words because it's 2 hours into this thing. So yeah. So look for this flyer. Look for this video work. I have shared the event link in the comment section of this particular podcast. I'll upload this to YouTube later on. Feel free to share, like, subscribe, all those things. Because it helps spread the word, not just about what we're doing here at the Fight House Talks podcast, but about this fundraiser and the work and the stories that not only the instructors and presenters are doing, but for the stories and good work of what Miss Renee is doing and her charity and the nonprofit organization for those who need it. It's again, we're touched by this very human experience of we love whom we love, and we want to share in that and be compassionate. So yeah, check it out. Thanks for hanging out with us for almost 2 hours, and we'll see you guys later. Last bits of things for actually, I'll just leave it out. That we'll have more stuff out coming next couple of weeks. I'm going to be gone next weekend down at the Water and Steel Camp with Dr. Kelly Warden, but you've heard me talk about that. But yeah, our guest list is coming out for September here in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, thanks for everybody hanging out. Yeah, have a wonderful night. Thank you, everybody. See ya.